Hi guys, welcome to the channel. If you are new here, I'm so happy to have you. If you're my peers and subscribers, welcome back to the channel. So for today's um, video, we are going to be interviewing President Tom Higgins and House Minority Leader Shamrock. He was the former Republican vice presidential nominee in 2028 with Louis Amaya. Louis Amaya lost the presidency to be former incumbent president of Rainbow Dash, who ended up resigning after 11 days in real life, was the equivalent of 3 months in the Discord server. However, President Tom Higgins, who was her vice president and running mate, has assumed the office of the presidency and has become the third official president. So far, he is the only president to never be elected to the office of the presidency. However, let's begin. We have tons of questions tonight, and then the candidates will face off with a heated debate between each other, with questions that they will attack each other on or agree on. Let's begin. So I'm going to read the question to both candidates today, and I have it listed on my note page. I don't have it shown up on the banner because I was not able to type them all out. So we're just going to read them to you. I'm going to try to read them as slowly as possible for each candidate. Are you guys ready? Would you like to introduce yourself? President Tom Higgins first.
Well, thank you, Chris. For those of you that don't know me, which I'm sure most of you do, I'm President Tom Higgins. Thank you, Shamrock, for being here, and thank you, Chris, for hosting this. Um, Quick disclaimer, I am just coming off kind of being sick, so if you hear me kind of stop for a minute, I'm drinking water because my throat still kind of hurts, so quick disclaimer on that.
Shamrock.
Hello, I'm Shamrock. I assume almost everyone here knows me, but if you don't, I am the current House Minority Leader. I am the vice presidential nominee in 2028, as Chris said, and I am also the front runner for president in 2032 for both the Republican nomination and the general election. Very happy to be here. Very happy that President Higgins has made the time here, and very happy that Chris has organized this. Thank you, everyone, for watching, and I cannot wait to begin.
Perfect. Let's begin. Now, like everyone can see here, we have the two front runners. House Minority Leader Shamrock is the front runner for the Republican nominee and is most likely to win at this time if the early polling indicates. And President Tom Higgins, who is most likely going to be the presumptive Democratic nominee if the early polling also indicates. As of right now, it is way too early to tell. The general election season does not start until December, but you can say that this is way too early presidential election debate. So let's begin. First question is going to be up for Tom Higgins. Tom Higgins, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Chris.
All right, perfect. Under former President Dash, short time in office, she alone added $10.1 trillion to the national debt and oversaw a net loss of $13.1 million in the economy, almost plunging the nation into a recession. A first for the stover. If it wasn't for President Oliva's income salary order, President Dash would have been the first president to oversee a recession. With this being said, how do you plan to address the nation? Considering your predecessor sought to undermine the nation, plunge into a national crisis, and then left when they were found to be extremely weak on foreign policy. Not to mention, they won on the backs of EPO and President Oliva's high approval rating. What is your response?
Well, thank you, Chris, for that question. You kind of had a different part question there, so I'll kind of break it down um, through each question. So, first off, Dash, there was a lot of things that Dash did that put our economy in a bad spot. And I understand that I was the vice president, but there was a lot of things that Dash didn't keep me in the loop on, and that was one of the issues. Um, One of several of Dash's executive orders would have drastically tanked our economy and put our debt at a level unseen before, and it would have put us in a really bad spot. What I'm doing is I'm trying to make ourselves more fiscally responsible with the debt, trying to decrease our debt, and continue to put Americans working, and continue to grow our economy. That's what I'm trying to do. Well, the second part was about EPO, correct? Or sorry,
What was the second part? I apologize.
I believe you had the second part with EPO in there, and
Oh, yes. I'll read that last section for you.
yeah,
With
please.
this being said, how do you plan to address the nation? Considering your predecessors sought to undermine the nation, plunge it into a national crisis, and then left when they were found to be extremely weak on foreign policy. Not to mention, they won on the backs of EPO, the Discourse server, and President Oliva's high approval rating.
All right, so on foreign policy, completely was the previous administration. We had I was left out of a lot of things that were going on in the with the previous president. But for foreign policy, I have addressed the issue of Taiwan and China. I put out a response, and I was able to do that. And I feel that's been it's been working so far. I'm going to continue to work every single day to make sure that we can strengthen relations and make sure that this war doesn't escalate any further. The EPO thing with Dash, I didn't personally agree with. I think you got to win with what you got already in the server, but I know you want to invite your friends here, and that's fine, but you just gotta be careful, because there have been some things that have come up in the past with things that shall remain nameless.
Right, and they also left the server tanking the economy by $14 million
Exactly.
dollars as well. Let's also note that that is a real fact. Yes, Shamrock.
May I actually respond to this question, because I feel like this would be a very good question for me. May I be able to respond?
Yes. Before you do respond, I do want to ask Higgins one more question in regards to foreign policy. You only mentioned China and Taiwan. The issue of NATO and the Somalia pirates attacking Greece and Saudi Arabia teaming up and trying to join the NATO alliance with Christina Haley in the mix of all this. What is your response to NATO?
Well, it's all those two. It wasn't just China and Taiwan. I did just mention those two, but I meant all of the foreign policy crises that is going on around the globe right now. But when it comes to NATO, we have to defend our NATO allies. We have to stand with NATO at all times. Look, NATO. If somebody's going to attack NATO land, we have to be there to help them. And plain and simply, because look, NATO is an ally, and there's a section, an article. I think it's Article 5. When one gets attacked, we all kind of come together. I believe that's it. Don't quote me on that, but so yeah,
yeah. So it's basically when one is attacked, it's an attack on all. So yeah, you're not wrong in terms of your terminology.
Yes.
Wrong wording, but same meaning nonetheless.
Right. Okay.
May I respond now?
Yeah. Go for it, Chairman. Yeah.
Go. Yep.
I would like to just point out. This is my opinion. I think Dash has been, as of right now, the weakest executive president in the Leo history. And I think had he not resigned, he still would have remained that. And I disagree with Higgins saying he has done his best to combat the debt. I think one executive order to fight the national debt doesn't actually outweigh 7 or 8 executive orders, spending millions on countless things. And I also think that Tom kind of flip-flopped on this issue. At the vice presidential debate, Tom said Dash was innocent and that he never thought he had been putting people from EPO into this server. That's what Tom said. You can check the debate. That's what President Higgins said. But now he thinks he's guilty. He has been his running mate and a close friend of Dash since the beginning of the primaries. So I think he should have obviously known about this. And, well, it's honestly kind of sad if he didn't, because what kind of executive doesn't advise the president and be close with him during the campaign? And on the issue of China and Taiwan, there has been a response, but we have seen no negotiation with China, and the war is still ongoing. And so while we do have a response, while Higgins is correct in that, it doesn't mean that response is good. Same with the economy. And as of right now, we are still heavily in debt. There is still a war in Taiwan that is killing thousands, if not millions. And Dash and Tom has flip-flopped on the issue of Dash's corruption. And I just think we need the truth. We need actual leadership, and we need results, not attempted results. And I'm going to leave it at that.
Am I able to respond here?
Yep.
Okay. So Shamrock, you are correct about during the debates with the EPO situation. At the time of the debate, I did not have any regard. I had no idea what was going on. I investigated it further. I looked into it, and then I realized what had happened during that. With what happened. So again, at the time, I didn't know. Okay,
Well,
I frankly didn't know.
It said you previously thought this. So either Dash lied to you and convinced you otherwise, or you just buried those thoughts, kept it at the back of your head, but said what you said so Dash could get by. Those are really the only two possible outcomes, because you previously did think
Again,
this. And
well,
honestly, I would go with that narrative, because if you previously thought it, then you were right. But I want to know why you keep flip-flopping on this issue. You, in the beginning of the campaign, you thought this as his running mate, you didn't, and now you believe it, and it was very, very bad. What's the narrative?
again, I did not know what was going on at the time during the campaign. I didn't even know what was happening, when during the primary cycle. I've been still relatively new to running, and the people were still pretty new to me. So I on that part I didn't know.
Well,
and
you've been in a few races in the midterms, did you not?
during the midterm cycle, the previous midterm cycle, I did, but I don't think Dash was there at the time.
Dash was there at the time. He won a race in Georgia.
That is true. That is true. Dash did run, but Dash never really campaigned much in that state.
Okay, that's
He
probably why
basically
I
won
bent.
on the backs of EPO members. That's the only reason why he won
Okay.
the Georgia governor and Senate. For everything that kind of happened and everything that has happened with the Dash campaign, Dash would kind of remain in the shadows, so to speak, kind of unknown. And then come the 2028 primary cycle, they ended up becoming the front runner against Lenore Kim, the vice president, and that ended up hurting Lenore Kim, because they were able to garner enough support not only within the server, but also those who had transferred or temporary transplant from EPL, who ended up leaving the Discord server after the resignation of
Yes.
Rainbow Dash, which means that this was a coerced plan by Rainbow Dash and EPO to just thwart the democracy of the server.
And again, well, first of all, I didn't even know Dash ran in 2026.
Then what does that say
didn't.
about you? I mean, you were his running mate throughout just 1 week of the 2028 presidential campaign, and this wasn't even in the general election. This was in the primaries. Me and Louis Amaya had over 200 messages with each other discussing policies. The Dash campaign was clearly very effective. I mean, they won in a landslide. So I definitely believe there was some communication with the president and vice president, or else you would have been entirely useless to that ticket. I don't believe you were, but I also believe you aren't telling us the full truth. However, I also realize we are running a bit low on time. This has taken a lot of space. I got to get up early tomorrow, so I think.
Yeah, so let's move on to the next question. Okay. Next question, we are going to move on. All right. So, Shamrock, Democrats did well in the 2029 off-year election cycle. However, Republicans made gains in some governor races. Based on historical trend, the way Virginia goes is the way the nation goes in the midterms. However, how confident are you in your party's ability to win the 2030 midterm?
I'm going to say one thing. I've said this over and over again. The candidates nominated for their respective races were not the right candidates for office. I disagreed with a good portion of them. The only one I agreed that should be nominated in that race that lost was Vivek Ramaswamy. And I believe he lost more due to voter splitting than he did actual campaigning skill, because he did more rallies than almost any other candidate. So we obviously had a huge portion there. And again, we made a very big, risky bet. I'm not going to say we, because it was really Ford and Reagan that made a very risky bet with Diego, and it did not pay off. I'm going to be running things in 2030, and there is not going to be a single mistake made. I'm going to run this ship tighter than anyone has before, and I am extremely confident we are going to win the House of Representatives. As Chris said, Virginia usually votes how the nation votes, and Virginia voted 52, almost 53% for Reed, who is, remind you, on my VP shortlist. So I'm very confident. And keep in mind, I, who am leading the results of 2030 midterms, won with 60% in Iowa. So I am more than confident that 2030 is going to be a red year, and we are going to have one of the biggest red waves seen on this server, bigger than 2022, bigger than 2026, 2029. It's going to be a blowout, and that's what I'm expecting.
And I must say, because you said you were going to run the tight ship and you disagree with a lot of the candidates' placement in the 2029 general election cycle for off year, that was decided by the chairman, Nancy Reagan. Are you saying that you disagree with who is in the head leadership position right now?
Chris, that's not what I'm saying at all. Nancy Reagan has done a fantastic job. However, she had to play with the cards she was dealt. And the cards she were dealt were horrible. They were one cards at every single turn. Diego Reyes.
But I must mention though that you yourself ousted the most sustainable candidate in Montana's Senate governor's Senate race, and ended up forcing him to leave. Ended up leaving Diego to take over. Ended up losing. Hold on. Who ended up losing the Senate race in the general election. And not also to mention too that RNC chairman Nancy Reagan was previously aware where third-party vote splitting were going to be and put the best candidate there instead of putting the weakest candidate. He should have put Diego and took Diego out of Michigan, put Diego in Kansas because they were going to lose that seat anyway. And put
Chris, I would
Ramaswamy in Michigan.
I would I want to disagree with you on a few things. The first is I did not. That is not true. In fact, I made a deal with Haley to make her the nominee, and 78% of Republicans voted. She tried to make lies about my presidential campaign, which I responded were untrue, and she rage quit the server. I had no action against the Haley campaign. What she could have done is pick another candidate. Unfortunately, no one else registered. So we were forced to pick with Diego. We have to play with the cards we're dealt, and I'm making sure
Can I interject?
we are playing with aces this 2030 midterm.
Technically, they could have easily inputted a non-person character. That was an option.
Yes, but what's the fun in that? You know, we want everyone to have a chance. We want, and this is the case for almost all of our races this year. We have actual people running instead of non-playable candidates, and we're going to make sure every race is competitive. I'm just going to point out Colorado 3.
Yeah, make that quick, and then we got to move on to the next question.
Okay, Leo Kim ran in that race unopposed. He still won only 53%. We are going to nominate a candidate for that, and we are going to flip that seat. Thank you.
Higgins, your response to all this?
I feel very confident about my party's chances in this midterms. You know, I do feel like in the off-year races, we were kind of in many ways underestimated. You know, we did win a lot of races that I think a lot of people thought we wouldn't win. Yes, they were close races, but we still won them. And so I feel very confident from that aspect. We have some great candidates that are going to be running for seats all across the country that I'm very excited about. So yes, I do. I am very excited about the midterms this year, and I think it'll be a good night for Democrats, possibly a blue wave.
And I do want to ask you one more question to both of you tonight about the 2029 off-year election. What ways, when they were being called, surprised you the most?
Well, I would like to say the Kansas race definitely surprised me. I was almost certain Vivek was going to win that. Unfortunately, didn't turn out the way we had hoped. But Vivek will be back on the campaign trail because he has proved to be an extremely experienced, valuable, and hardworking candidate. And I would just like to respond to one thing that thanks to inside sources, we know there are people upset with the Democratic leadership. And that is why we are seeing some people run third party. And a lot of parties are actually scared of the Higgins administration and some of the things they have proposed. For example,
What?
For example,
what
sorry,
happened?
I was interrupted. For example, the Libertarian nominee or Libertarian Party has actually made an alliance with us, and we will be nominating Libertarian and Republican candidates for each race. The new Progressive Party has also agreed to sponsor and endorse the Republican Party. And we are getting several Democrats to also vote Republican in these midterms. We are very confident.
So are you saying that they are changing their ideology to Republican?
What I'm saying is when you have a candidate who wants more authoritarian, or a vice president who wants more authoritarian beliefs and wants to militarize the police with no reforms to protect the American people, the libertarians aren't going to choose that option. They're going to choose a more freedom-based option, which is the ship and the party I am running for. And that is why we are going to see members of the Libertarian Party with Republicans in this election.
But I must interject. When you say, limiting American people's freedom, what executive order outlined that?
Yeah.
If you look at Evander's policies, Chris, there's a big thing that says militarizing the police. And I don't know if I have to.
Okay, but what executive order though?
It wasn't an executive order. I
So,
I made that very clear.
so what you're saying is essentially that the vice president has more power than the executive president. Are you saying that you believe
Well, I'm
that
saying
your
when you have
leader at
somebody.
this point is, hold on, you're saying that you believe that the vice president is the president, not the current incumbent president. Is that what you're saying?
Chris, if Kamala Harris tomorrow said that she wished to militarize the police department with no jurisdictions or reforms to stop a possible dictatorship, would you be scared and think twice about voting for the Democrats?
Well, hold on. Well, I'm gonna
That's what they are.
Listen, I'm a news source. I'm not here to state my opinion, so I'm not going to even answer or attempt
Okay.
to answer that.
Well,
However,
I think I've gotten
I
the
am going to
answer.
let President Higgins respond because that is a very serious allegation against the incumbent president and his own administration.
Well, I
Higgins,
just like to say it's
hold on,
not an
hold on, hold on,
allegation.
hold
It's
on.
on Speaker
You're saying
Dots.
a
You can
lot of
check.
things, and you're saying a lot of things that he needs to respond. So please allow him to respond. Higgins, you are going to respond to this allegation, and if it's found true, what is your administration plan to do with this information that you just found out tonight?
So, first of all, I am the president. Let's make that very clear. The vice president is not the president. I'm the president right now, and yeah. So, but if these allegations, with the vice president are true, then I certainly will look into them because I want to have as transparent as an administration as possible, and I will look into them. I will, and I'll keep everybody updated on those on what's going on. You also brought up some of the other parties. You said that some people are not happy with my administration. I just want to ask you, Shamrock, right now, what exactly are people not happy with that I've proposed? Is it just the vice president, or is it like, certain things
I'd
that
like
I've
to
done?
state before anything, these are not allegations. I just posted the screenshot in the Discord server in which he said he supported militarizing the police. And, oh, wait, hold up. Is that the correct? Yep, that is the correct message. And I would also like to point out that that Tom completely dodged the question, which was, would he actually deal with the action? In which he said this would be very concerning if these
Yes, I
allegations
would
are
deal with
correct.
the action.
These
I was just going to get
allegations,
to that.
these allegations are correct.
I was just going to
In
get to
fact,
that.
Evander said he had sent the Google Docs to almost everyone, and considering he's your vice president, I'd assume that document was also sent to you. And in that Google document, he very clearly laid out that that he wanted to militarize the police. And you said you saw the document before the debate, which means you definitely had knowledge of this, yet you called it allegations. You called it not true. And you said you'd deal with it, not you're dealing with it or you've dealt with it. And I think it's very scary to see that the president hasn't done anything about this despite knowing of this policy. And I would like to leave it at that.
Okay. What I will
I'm
say
going
is,
to state those policy stances. I'm going to say his policy, and I'm going to have you respond to that, just because I think
go
you
ahead,
need
Chris.
to know exactly what is being said by your vice president. Now, reminder, this was stated before he did become the vice president. This was stated August 1st, 2024 at 1:52 a.m. So this is before he even became your vice
Yeah,
president.
I did not
Um,
he sent a Google document. I think almost everyone has that. I did not
I
have
didn't
time
get
to
it.
get that up as
But
well.
anyway, let me continue, please. These are his policies. Number one, increasing healthcare, Medicare, and Medicaid. Number two, increasing gun restriction. Number three, immigration reform. Number four, cleaner energy. Number five, helping the poor and needy. Number six, lowering taxes. Number seven, job creation. Number eight, preventing election fraud. Number 9, personal and economic freedom. Number 10, anti-war. Number 11, Green New Deal. Number 12, increasing military spending. Number 13, supporting Israel and Palestinian government. I'm not gonna respond to that. Number 14, militarizing the police. Number 15, national defense. Number 16, pro-choice, supporting abortion and women's choice. I
May
clearly
I?
stated. Hold on, Shamrock. I
I
clearly,
apologize.
I clearly stated, President Higgins. You may now respond.
Yes. So this is very alarming. I'm gonna have to do an immediate review and fix this issue immediately. Once we get
And by
off.
fixing the issue, are you saying that there's a strong possibility that the current vice president might be booted out of the seat?
That is something that I will consider. Yes.
I would just
Okay.
like to say one final thing before this question is over. And that is, there's a reason libertarians are upset, and they damn well should be. Increasing gun restrictions goes against the Constitution, and it's something libertarians, along with myself, don't believe in. I don't think militarizing the police is a popular policy among almost anyone.
It's
But
not
there
even
is,
popular against me. I'm sure it's not popular with the president. Like he said,
Yeah.
and he just
I
told
would,
you that
I would just like
that
to
he
Yes.
didn't
point
he
out,
was not aware of
you
this.
know,
And because he wasn't aware of it, you have to make sure you're clearly stating to the
no,
American
he
people
was aware
that
of
this
this.
was stated by the vice president prior to
He said
becoming
before the debate,
vice president.
I'm going to
Make sure
quote
you're
this.
stating that.
I'm going to quote Mr. Higgins at the beginning of the debate. He sent me a Google Doc with a bunch of Green Party views, Republican Party views, Green Libertarian views. That was the Google Doc in which he also expressed he wanted to militarize the police. So we did know of this policy. But one thing that he and the president definitely agree on is supporting both the Israeli and Palestinian governments, something that Higgins expressed at the vice presidential debate. And I'm going to bring it up again why I think this is a horrible take of action. If you want to end a conflict, you don't fund and support both sides. That only makes the fighting more even and the conflict longer.
Okay, and with that
Okay.
being said, we would like to know where you stand on the issue. Because you said you don't support supporting both
Yeah.
sides, what side do you support?
Well, I mean, I think it's been obvious. I do support Israel, and I get that it is a very controversial thing to say on this server, but that is what I believe. But I would also like to say this, which was my final point, that Israel is our ally, and they are fighting terrorism in the Middle East. And a lot of the Palestinians, unfortunately, are led by Hamas and terrorists, and that's the war they are fighting against. They are not fighting against Palestine, as the eastern areas of Palestine are not really involved in the conflict as of right now. It's only the west side, which Hamas jurisdiction falls upon. They're currently fighting Hamas, not Palestine, and that's something I want to make very, very clear. Because a lot of
And I
people
want
say,
to ask you because it's in the news outlet here. What is your stance on the genocide that's currently ongoing in the Middle East, especially during the war that is being faced in the Israeli-Palestinian war?
well, genocide is not the word I would call it. Accidental murder is. And it is very unfortunate that terrorists use humans as shields because that's what they're doing. That's why they are dying. And they are trying to use open ways that is, for example, Mr. Roosevelt brought up a area where Palestinians were supposed to move to safe area that they then bombed while they were crossing it. It was very, very likely that area a terrorist was going in to infiltrate and commit acts of terrorism against Israel as seen on October 7th. And that is what they had to resort. They are using humans as shields. It is not a genocide, and it is accidental murder to kill people who are killing and harming others. And it is time
Okay, and
to
I do
recognize.
want to interject here. When you say accidental murder, what classifies as accidental murder? Because who can accidentally murder somebody without the intention of murder?
Well, I'm going to bring up a completely hypothetical scenario, Chris. Let's say someone has someone has stolen your dog. Police are trying to find this person who is also wanted for multiple acts of crimes. However, they are currently in an area they cannot get to and can only access by throwing a let's say like grenade at him. If the dog dies, that is a tragic thing. It is accidental murder. Their initiative isn't to kill the dog like people are portraying it to be. It is to kill the person who, or get the person out of the area that they are. Israel is trying to liberate the people from Hamas jurisdiction because Hamas are tyrants, and I'm tired of pretending they're not. They are not good people. And similar to the Taliban in Afghanistan, they're violating women's rights, they are violating human rights, and they are executing or arresting anyone who disagrees with that.
And I
And
must ask you, as we would like to know as a news source at TNN, who asked Israel the freedom? We haven't received any news report from anybody from the Israeli war, specifically on the Palestinian side, who stated that they are looking for, someone to come in and save them from the the tyranny of the Hamas reign. No one has
well,
asked that. No one has came
Chris, do you
forward with
hear?
that. So how can you make that type of claim?
Chris, do you? I'm going to ask you a question. If no one really says a lot of bad things about North Korea. It's only like one, two, maybe three people who managed to escape. So that means North Korea isn't doing anything wrong because no one's speaking out against them in their own country. That's what dictators do, Chris. They kill people and threaten anyone who goes against them. And
Make sure
because
make sure you call me Tina, not Chris, because I am two different individuals.
okay, TNN, that's what they do. And that is why we are not hearing a lot from the Palestinian people, except for propaganda sources they are using to manipulate the news network. It's somewhat of crocodile tears, if I will say that. But we are running a bit low on time, so I would like to go to the next question.
Okay, I'm just gonna allow the president to respond because you did stuck up a lot at the time, so I
Yes.
just need to let him respond.
Yeah, that was a lot there. Here's what I will say. I do support Israel. Israel has a right to defend itself. Israel's a staunch ally of the United States, and we need to defend Israel. But I do also, realize that there are some, not so good things that are happening in, with what is going on in Palestine, and I'm sure Shamrock understands that as well. That there are, things are not by any means, in a good spot there. So, we're the United States. We help in international conflicts. We're there, and I think trying to bring peace is what we need to do.
Okay, thank you for that. Candidates, I do want to let you know now we do need to speed this up a little bit. So, Shamrock, specifically speaking to you directly, try to keep your responses short and brief. That would be
Okay,
greatly
I'm very, very
appreciated.
sorry. I get that I'm getting in love with my own voice. I will tone it down. I'm very sorry.
Thank you, I appreciate
It is a
that.
very soothing
So,
voice.
all right, we are going to start with the next question here. This is for you, incumbent President Tom Higgins. Under your first 6 months as president, you struggled to handle the economy in which you were either decline, in which it was either declining or marginally growing. However, with the recent event globally, with NATO calling for U.S. Excuse me, I'm going to repeat this entire thing. I just had a stroke. Okay, Under your first 6 months as president, you struggled to handle the economy, which were either in declining or marginally growing. However, with the recent event globally, with NATO calling for U.S. to uphold its commitment to the alliance, you have managed to switch the economy to a wartime economy. With this being said, you gained 13 million in the GDP growth, while just being shy of 3 million needed to recover the economy at its height. Right before President Rainbow Dash dipped, tanking the economy into a possible recession. However, based on current trends, it appears you are pulling the nation out of it. What is your administration plan to continue said growth? So basically, what I am saying here is that under your wartime economy, you have essentially um, brought the United States out of the quote unquote doom and gloom of a possible recession caused by former predecessor Rainbow Dash, and you were only 3 million shy of being where exactly it was prior to Rainbow Dash tanking the economy. What is your response to this, President Tom Higgins?
Well, thank you, Tan. Yes. Look, when I took office, we were not in a good economic position. And I feel like being able to put ourselves in a wartime economy with with the NATO stuff that was going on, that would significantly help our, our economy grow. I will say the economy is getting better. It is getting better. Yes, you've said it's very marginally, but even if it marginally gets better, that's still growth, and that's still getting
However, I
better.
said marginally within the first 6 months of your presidency. You are
Right,
about a
right.
year into your presidency now. It
Yes,
hasn't been marginal anymore, at least at this point in
yes.
time.
It's growing. I mean, like I said, at first it was very marginal, growing, and which again is good from a sense of it is growing. It's getting better. Even if it's very small increments, it's getting better, and now it's really doing good. And I think that throughout my entire administration, we will continue to grow the economy and make sure we have an economy that suits everybody throughout my entire term.
Okay, so as president, what is your plan to address the growing
Right.
economy? Because as of right now, you've laid out no policy standpoint.
Right. So growing the economy, I want to continue to be able to create jobs, and we can do this by, you know, I want to propose an infrastructure bill that would help create more jobs across across the nation. I think job creation and job growth will help with our economy. I think some tax cuts will help grow our economy even more. I'm thinking about for even uh, for depending on circumstances, we could potentially see some stimulus come into play here. These are things that I think will ultimately help grow our economy. And frankly, it's just getting people to work and getting people money in their pockets and being able to buy things. And I think doing that and lowering costs are very important to help sustain our economy.
Okay, thank you, President Higgins. Shamrock, you have a minute to respond.
Well, I would just like to point out the economy is not in prosperity, as you like to put it. As Chris said at the end of the question, we are still in a recovery phase. There are 4 phases of the business.
Agreed. We are. It's still in recovery. Yes.
Prosperity, depression, recession, and recovery. We are
We are still
currently
recovering.
in
Yes.
recovery. And I feel most of that is thanks to the actions of the Olivia administration that practically saved us from recession. And I think the only reason the debt is looking up now is because of a single executive order that Higgins enacted. But something I'm not very proud of is I thought we were finally seeing an era of fiscal responsibility in the White House. However, immediately after this executive order passed, we saw him spending money like we were in the roaring 20s yet again.
Hold on. I do want to interject
Oh,
here.
God.
Can you please state what executive order you're referring to and what president you're referring to, please?
What do you mean, what president I'm referring to?
Like, who signed the executive order and what executive order are you referring to?
The order to fight debt by President Higgins is the executive order that brought the national debt lower. And I'm trying to
Okay,
find
what number is that? What number is that so the viewers
I
and
actually
American people
cannot
can know?
find the executive order channel right now. I do not know where it went. I had it in like
It's
my
Executive
favorite.
Order 306 is the debt
Okay.
reduction.
Well, I don't have that in my channels. I do not know why. It kind of disappeared for me. But yeah. I'm pretty sure I can't really fact check it right now. But in almost every single one
I can back check.
of Higgins' executive orders, he has spent money. This is something, and I get this. If we don't spend money, we don't get anything done. And we do
Exactly.
need to spend money. However, and this is the big but, we don't need to be spending $100 million for small level school programs. And we don't need to be spending money on every single aspect of that executive order.
I do want to
Well,
fact check here.
can
Based
I
on,
say?
hold on. I do want
Yeah.
to fact check you on this regard. When it comes to the national debt tracker, nothing is mentioned to the margin in which you state. However, President Higgins, when he first came into office, he only had a net negative of $100 million. That could be what you're referring to. However, since Executive Order 306 has taken effect, he had basically essentially paid off $1.7 billion so far of the national debt. So when it comes to 306, he hadn't spent money. He actually reduced the money based on the wartime economy. However, if you are talking about the spending money on certain packages deals based on whatever executive order you're referring to, the only one with that certain price tag, as mentioned, happened right when he took office, which was $100 million. What is your response?
Actually, there were
And
several with $100 million. One of them being that, I forget the name of it. I'm just going to describe it because I do not have the executive order channels up. That being the one to fight fear for kids. And we're forgetting, this isn't just the Higgins administration. It's the Dash administration, too. It is a 4-year tenure of Democratic run of a Democratic ticket. And so I think it's only fair we include Dash in that because Dash was president, whether we would like it
but
or
we're
not.
two different presidents.
Yes, you are two different
We are
presidents.
two
You ran on the
completely
same
different
ticket.
people.
You became president.
But we are
Johnson.
two completely different people. I'm now running my own administration. I was part of Dash's administration. Now I'm running my own administration. With me at the top, not Dash.
Exactly. And according to historical trends in real life, the sitting vice president runs his own administration. The only time that had not been the case with Lyndon B. Johnson, where he ran the administration similar to the likes of Kennedy.
That is
and then
actually
he ended up.
incorrect, Chris, or TNN. As someone who understands history very well, it wasn't until 1925 that a president could fire anyone from the previous cabinet. So John Tyler ran a very completely different administration. But then Andrew Johnson was pretty much forced to run the same cabinet, even though he didn't like it. Calvin Coolidge was forced to run with the same cabinet, even though most of them resigned due to corruption. Roosevelt's first term, he was forced to continue the policies of imperialism from William McKinley due to this factor. And Harry Truman continued the policies of FDR. So almost every single president, except for maybe, I'd say, Tyler and Ford, ran the administration's almost exactly to the incumbent's perspective.
Okay, so I understand exactly what you're saying, and you're definitely not wrong in what you said. However, what I'm referring to is the particularity of that, just say the policy stance, just say Biden, right? Let's say Biden steps down, Kamala takes over, she's not going to have a lot of the policy stances that Biden has. Because what
Well, I
Biden
mean,
has is a generic Democratic policy stance. However,
Mhm.
she has her own policy stance. So technically, President Higgins should have his own policy stances. So yeah, you could tie him to Rainbow Dash in certain cases, but you can't tie him almost
well, I
identically
mean,
to Rainbow
in the
Dash.
executive
That is
orders that Dash did pass, and all of them Higgins approved. So I think it is definitely fair to tie him to this administration because he seemed to have the same views on the executive orders that he passed.
Okay, thank you for that. Higgins, what is your response?
so. Yes, I'm a completely different person. I'm running a completely different administration. I've put different people into my administration, and I'm running a completely different administration from the previous one. You said that I approved a lot of Dash's previous orders, and yes, you are correct. I did. Um, I did do that. I don't think it was all of them. Maybe it was all of them. I'm not exactly sure, but it
I
was
could
a good
backtrack for
majority of
you.
them. It was a good majority of them. But I supported the president at the time, and I think pretty much everybody would do the same, especially as the number two in command, as the vice president. That's you
I would like to
can do that.
point out that this contradicts your original statement that you had not a lot of communication or knowledge
Oh, but I
with
didn't.
Dash.
But I didn't. I didn't. I didn't
Yes,
have.
but you're saying that you
No.
approved of all of his
Okay.
policies.
Okay. Let me explain here. Okay. Dash didn't keep me in the loop for any of the executive orders. There was maybe one executive order that Dash actually sent to me, and we made changes to it. There was maybe I'd have to pull it up for you. I'd have to go back and pull it up because I'm not exactly sure which one it was, but there was one. The rest of the executive orders were not uh, given to me, and were not even. I was left out of the loop of all of them except for
Well,
that one.
well, I would like to point out if there's one thing that you have done very well, it's getting other people to pretty much write the executive orders for you because every single time I've messaged Roosevelt and Reagan, um, both of them have stated that they wrote executive orders from you. So, I mean, it's good
Well,
that you
I'm
want to get the
receiving
best of both
feedback. I'm
worlds.
receiving feedback from people. First of all, I want to hear
Well,
what
they're
other
saying they're
people.
writing the entire
I,
executive order from you. So either they both have very big heads, which I mean,
I've
Roosevelt
never
maybe.
received one executive order from Reagan. Let me just say that I've never. I heard. Excuse me. I've heard
So,
from Reagan
so
once.
you're not bipartisan?
No, I've heard from Reagan once. I've reached out to people. I've reached out, but
Well, I
you
mean, I've
guys,
reached out to people, and I'm labeled as a far right extremist by Page, so I don't think that's very fair.
I have I haven't heard that. um,
I mean, Page said
but
I was or I'm going to take the words of Hacked, aka Joseph McCarthy, who looks to be a candidate in the midterms, that I was a threat to democracy, a gerrymander, and a bunch of stuff
where
actually,
was that said in? I didn't see that.
general. And in the words of Page, that she was going to work my hardest to make sure I would not become president. And she even described me as a liar and a threat to democracy on the campaign trail, something that Roosevelt backed up. Roosevelt is, and you cannot deny this, a very big asset to your campaign. He has done a lot of work for you and helped you a lot. He was one of the front runners for your VP spot. He has done a lot of work for you. And he thinks that, Page thinks that, and I don't think that's a very fair thing to say, considering I've reached out to a ton of Democrats to get their support. I've reached out to a ton of libertarians to get their support. I've even reached out to progressives to get their support. I've welcomed almost all new members, no matter their background. And there is a
I
reason there are more third parties running presidential and midterm wise on your side of the ticket than the Republican side of the ticket, and we were running a much more united campaign.
Well,
And
they're
I'm
running
going
third
to,
parties because they clearly don't, like what they see from both parties, which, I guess that's an inflection point for both parties. There's something we have to do to fix them.
well, I mean, as of right now, the 3 candidates running third party that I know of that are fully committed are all from the progressive Democratic wing. So I think it's more they
I
can't
think there's
vote
one
for
from your
Republican
side
because it's
too.
too conservative. I think it's more that than it is the Republicans are too bad for me to
I
vote
think
for.
We are going to continue on with the next question here. Okay. So if the economy declined, what are your plans as president to help prevent you from being the first president to oversee a recession? I'm going to say this, it goes for Higgins, and then Shamrock, please try to keep it short.
Yes, I'm known for keeping things short, but I would definitely be a way better choice for the economy, and I'm going to tell you why. One of the biggest platforms for the Democrats is ending wealth inequality. Under the Higgins-Dash administration, we have seen the biggest jump in wealth inequality in history. And this is not good. And as someone and both of us are in the 1%, top 1%, this is not good. And here's what I'm planning on doing to stop it. 1, I plan on bringing back the income tax. Because of removing the income tax, we are losing a lot of money and the national debt has gotten that bad. However, I plan on evening out by lowering taxes in other areas. I think cutting programs, not Social Security, not like the valuable ones, but things that don't really do much will be another essential. I think making sure people aren't taking advantage of welfare programs and getting punishments for those who do will be a big part of my economic plan. And finally, I will just support job creation and business intervention laws that will help our economy to boom and flourish.
And you did say that you plan to reinitiate the income tax. Are you saying that you could also possibly bring back the IRS?
The IRS, I'm not going to say anything bad about them because I'm going to be dead tomorrow morning. However, I do definitely believe that the IRS should be an existent force. However, it can't be this big scary monster like it was. We needed it to be a very limited factor in government. A pretty small factor. We need to work on very small, limited IRS agents and make sure they don't abuse their power or tax more, if you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, so are you saying that you plan to reinstate the IRS and remove the gold standards set by President Oliva, who abolished the IRS?
Yeah, I kind of just answered that question.
So you're gonna reinstate it, is what you're gonna say? Can I get a yes or a no to that?
I'm going to reinstate it in a very, very limited form, a very small form.
Okay, and are you saying that you disagree with President Oliva's policy on that?
Well, I mean, President Oliva has done a great job, and I think he had the best interests at heart. It worked for a little bit, but I think that is a factor in why the economy isn't doing so great now. And I think I slightly disagree with him here, and I would like something a little different. But Oliva has my utmost respect and support.
And do you believe that because you said it didn't work, are you saying that that is because it wouldn't have worked out for either president who would have taken office after him? Or are you saying that it's just because it happened to be that President Dash who took office
removing the
and then
income
destroyed
tax,
the economy? Do you think that had a factor in this?
Removing the tax would have worked had we not gone all crazy with spending. Dash went all crazy with spending, and that's why the economy is where it is today. Higgins has been a bit more
The national debt, you
fiscally
mean?
responsible. So I think had a great potential to work. Unfortunately, the president we got right after ruined it. And that's why I think we're going to have to go back to the system, and maybe we can remove it later if we get someone to be fiscally responsible.
Okay, and Higgins, what is your response?
Well, my response to that is, first of all, I thank you for saying I'm fiscally responsible. I would say that I've done things to remain fiscally responsible with cutting the debt. Well, so my economic plan, what I feel like we need to do here. And what I do plan on doing throughout the remainder of my term, and hopefully, if voters grant me a second term. First of all, I do agree there is inequality when it comes to the economy, and there's far too many people who are on the poor end of the spectrum, and then there's people who are obviously at the top end of the spectrum. And I want to make the economy work for everybody. I want to make sure that we have people who are getting good jobs and people who are being paid fairly. And unfortunately, there are corporations who do not pay their employees fairly,
This
and that does happen, which is very unfortunate. I do think that when it comes to if we are talking about inequality, I do think that the one way that we could do this is some stimulus money that could put some money in pockets of some lower class families. I think some other lower class things that would help them would be some more cuts when it comes to the for prices, cutting prices of certain things, and trying to get prices more sustainable, so that way we can have everybody prosper in the economy. And I even think too that taxes certainly are in this. I want to cut taxes all across the board. I believe we have to have a good tax system that works for the people.
Okay, perfect. We are going to move on to the next question. With President Dash leaving you to fend for yourself, excuse me, I'm going to repeat this entire thing. With President Dash leaving you to fend for a nation in turmoil under her reign, what are your opinions on former President Dash, and do you associate yourself with her?
Well, what I will say is, I did feel towards, first of all, the Dash decision to resign the presidency blindsided me. I had no idea what was going to happen. I had heard nothing from Dash that this was even her intention. I was told a few minutes before she had resigned that she was going to do so. She had not expressed to me anything that had happened with that. I will say, obviously, I have nothing against Rainbow Dash. I think I'm honored that Dash picked me to be her running mate, as I'm sure anybody would be, being chosen as a running mate for a presidential nominee. And I'm completely and deeply honored for that. And was honored to obviously now to be vice president and now to be president. But for Dash, yes, I was, like I said before, I was out of the loop for many things that Dash did. Early on in our campaign for the White House, I felt like I was at times lied to. There were some things I think, like I said, I had no knowledge about the EPO, situation that had happened, mostly because I think Dash lied to me, and that there were some things that Dash was being dishonest about when I had questioned it, because I at the time I trusted and certainly believed, because I think anybody would, for their for who they're running with, um, and who they've uh, developed a friendship with. I think most people would. Um, but yeah. So those are my overall thoughts on Dash. Was there? I think there was a second part. Was there a part two to that?
Yes, I can read the second part of the
Yeah.
question. Um,
Chris, do you think I could respond before you do that, or should I after?
After.
Okay.
What are your opinion? Well, we already stated the first part of the question. What are your opinions on former President Dash? But the second part of that question is, do you associate yourself with her?
Oh, do I associate myself? That's right. I would say no. I don't. Uh, Not anymore. Obviously, like I said, I'm running my own administration now. I'm doing my own things. Like you said, Dash just left me hanging out here to dry. I was left to fend for myself, and was completely blindsided by the um, by the resignation, and I had no idea that it was even happening until like a few minutes before the announcement came. Uh, that I was completely, like I said, completely out of the loop with everything with the administration. Um, I do consider Dash a friend, um, even though I had our ups and downs. But I will say right now, I do not associate myself with her.
Okay, and thank you for that. And Shamrock, I know you have a lot to say on this issue.
Yep,
You have,
I always do.
and you have stated it before. So please, stay on track. Try to keep it as brief as possible.
Yes.
Otherwise, I will mute you.
I think this shows two things more than anything. One, the incompetence of the Dash Higgins administration, and two, the flip flopping that Tom Higgins has done. I'm going to start with the incompetence first, and I will make this brief. One, I was notified a month before by Louis Amaya that he would be out of town for 2 days. Just 2 days, and that I would have to be acting president. You were notified 2 minutes before the President of the United States resigned. I think, and you said before the debate, you weren't even notified.
I must interject here. You said acting president. You were not elected
Yeah,
president.
you were never.
Yes, this was during the general election campaign, where he learned he would have to move to Texas, and as a result, he would be completely offline for 2 days. And
Okay, but that had nothing to do with being acting president. You were not the incoming president. President Lever was the incoming president.
I think what Shamrock was trying to say
Yes,
is
it was
acting in the
during
terms
this.
of campaign for president. I think that's
Yes,
clarifying
Chris,
what Shamrock said.
this would have happened. This happened, I think, 3 days ago. So it would have happened under his tenure. So I would have been acting president during those.
Oh, so you're saying that he was telling you in advance, is what you meant to say?
Yes, that's why I said a month in advance.
Oh, okay. I missed that part. I do apologize on my behalf.
I think the communication was extremely lacking, especially since he said he didn't even know when it happened until he sent the message in campaigning that he was resigning. But now he knew a few minutes prior. Don't know when he really knew. No one's ever going to know. But
I knew. I told Leo in advance that this was going to happen, but that was particularly because of my psychic abilities. But that was because me and Leo had that kind of connection. We talk about it.
Everyone knows Dash was not a good president. Very, very.
Well, no, I
incompetent.
knew months in advance that Dash was going to resign the presidency if they were to win. I even told Leo this. You can even ask Leo. But besides my opinion here, I knew, but I didn't say anything because it wasn't my place to say. Because
I knew the second he left the server raging after something which was kind of little. It attacked both candidates, the October surprise event.
But the October surprise was valid and it could have hurt either candidate.
Yes. I think the second that happened, I knew this guy wasn't going to last. He was a very weak candidate. and he would be disastrous for this country if he did get elected. It was another thing, flip-flopping. I mean, he said he didn't know until it happened and was completely blindsided. Now he said it was a few minutes before he announced, and in a few months he's going to say he knew right as the election started. But
I didn't. Oh God,
but
I didn't feel.
there are other examples of flip flopping. But again, we're running low on time. I got to get to bed. I got school tomorrow, so I'm going to move on to the next question.
Yes. All right, perfect. We are going to move on to the next question here. Let's talk about that. Recently, a conservative justice has put forth a case to challenge LGBTQ rights and has compared homosexual to pedophile. Although many of your Republican colleagues have denounced this behavior and advocated for LGBTQ rights, many believe that this is a front that Republicans are using to take back the White House. Democrats say, however, this is a part of the Republican platform. What is your opinion on this, Shamrock?
I'm going to say if there was a buzzer on my desk and we had to compete for who had to answer this question first, I would gladly answer it first, and I'm very happy I get to. What Diego did is appalling. It's horrible and disgusting. And quite frankly, I
Make
think
sure,
he
make sure
should
you
be
refer to him
censored.
as Justice Diego. Make sure you refer to him as
Justice
Justice
Diego,
Diego.
and I personally think he should be kicked out of the party for this. However,
Well, remember, he's not a Republican on the Supreme Court. He is conservative justice with no party allegiance to any party.
Well, I mean,
So,
he is a Republican on the server, and he does have like a
yes,
red
but however,
box
in the
his name.
context of the Supreme Court, no justice
All right,
are allowed to have
I will
allegiance to
say
a
he is
party.
conservative. I will say that, but I definitely disagree with this. I've made my opinion on this extremely clear. I stated in my Senate campaign I believed in this. I've said in my vice presidential campaign I disagreed with this, and I said in my House campaign I disagreed with this, and I'm going to disagree with it until the day I die. I believe the verse that he thinks proves his point in the Bible is grossly misinterpreted. And I also believe that he is not the right choice for president. He is running against me, and I am attacking him very, very hard on this issue and his statements. Before the debate, me and Higgins were actually joking about how bad this was and how destructive he is being to our country. And as stated before, I think him and his policies were very incompetent. He ran his campaigns in 2029 very incompetently. I don't think he's the right choice for president. And if president, I will most likely do my best to remove him from the Supreme Court because we should not have a judge with those policies on the court. Thank you.
Higgins, your response.
Well, yes, I certainly was appalled when the conservative Justice Diego brought the case to the court. Excuse me. It was appalling, frankly. He basically tried to spin my words around. I used a slang, a term that was used pretty widely within the LGBTQ plus communities by saying love is love. Everybody knew what I meant, but he tried to spin it as in comparing gays to pedophilia, which is not in any way right. And frankly, what he's proposing, Justice Diego, is disgusting. He says that he doesn't want to take away the rights, but yet taking away gay marriage, that's taking away your rights. And Shamrock says that they should kick him out of the party. They haven't done that yet. I wonder why, but I digress. That's for a different day. They haven't, but no. What he did was disgusting, and I will do everything in my power to make sure that LGBTQ plus rights are always protected in our country, because everybody should have their rights, and whether that's your right to, as a man, to marry another man, or your right as a woman to marry another woman, or whatever, to do just that. Thank you.
I
And
forgot
I
to
will want to
answer.
interject here. I do want to ask another question to Shamrock on the same question here. You said that when it comes to Diego, that you believe that he should be ousted by your own party. Just say there were a whole bunch of extremely conservative members and a faction of your Republican Party. If they choose to endorse you for the presidential nomination for 2032, will you, as a presidential frontrunner, accept their endorsement for those who say that they don't want LGBT community rights to be protected by law?
I would like to answer the question before that because I forgot to answer that Democrats were accusing us of being a Republican platform. I don't think that's true. And I think everyone knows deep down that is not true. And if Roosevelt or Higgins wants to spin it as they want, they can. And
I
also,
haven't even spent
the
it as
reason
anything, but go ahead.
the reason we haven't kicked Diego out of the party is because of three main reasons. One being, I'm not the chairman. Reagan is. Reagan has school, and as well as a ton of other things, because she is involved in the political world, unlike a lot of us. And so she has a lot of time on our hands and probably hasn't gotten to do that. Two, Diego almost kicked himself out of the party by trying to run as a constitutional candidate. He was talked out of it, and that's why he's remaining in the Republican Party. And three, whether we like it or not, Diego does have a base within the Republican Party. There are people who will vote for him. They are a fringe minority of the party. And come this November, they will come to their senses. And one thing that I found absolutely disgusting is when Roosevelt accused me of pretty much being homophobic for trying to get Diego to come to his senses. If you want to end homophobia, and if you want gays to have like full access to rights such as marriage, like you say you are, you communicate with the people who don't and try and get them to change their opinions. Some of this is finding a common ground on the issue. So that is what I am doing, and I'm trying my hardest to protect this.
Okay, and just say they were to endorse you, would you accept that endorsement?
Who?
If those factions of your party, but who
Well,
believe that
those
LGBT
party
rights should be removed, will you accept their endorsement?
those members of the party are free to do whatever they want and whatever they wish. But I definitely believe if one of them were to endorse me, I'm a tent for all. I'm going to be a president for all, and I'm going to be a speaker for all. And
And so,
I
are you saying that if you were to be president, that because you said that you would be a president for all, so are you saying that in order to represent them, that you'll represent their ideas when it comes to the LGBT community rights? Is that what you're saying?
I'm sorry, I did not hear that. I was currently having a conversation with someone else. Would you be able to repeat that?
Yes. What I am saying is, and what I've asked before, is because you said that you represent all Americans regardless of who and what they are, because that's the type of president you would be, are you saying in order to represent and fairly represent the conservative faction that believe that LGBTQ rights are not acceptable and should be removed, are you saying that as president, you will enact some sort of policy to make them feel represented in government as well as you're going to be president, just say you
This
were
is a
elected?
very, very dumb question. I would have obviously not do this. And what I'm doing and what I will do that the Democrats are actually against is communicate with these people, try and get them to stray from this platform so we can all get on the common ground that gays are equal to us and they deserve equal rights. That is what I will do. And that way I can be a president for
Wait,
all.
what are Democrats against? Be clear.
Communication with those people.
Okay.
And who are those people?
Yeah.
For example, Diego.
So you're calling him a person, and you're not even like calling him Diego by his first name. You're calling him a person, but you're basically dehumanizing him.
No, because as mentioned before, Diego has a base. I mentioned this several times, actually. And I'm just naming one. I could also go as far to name B if I really want to go out there. But I digress. I'm not dehumanizing anyone, Chris.
Okay, your response, Higgins. You have a minute to respond.
Well, frankly, I do want to say that, hold on, what am I trying to say here? That, that there are factions of every party, and that in Shamrock's case, the most extreme party, they still are going to vote for him. Now, yes, it's a Republican. I understand that they have other ideals and other values, but he says he's gotten Diego to stop a third party bid. But what if he wants? No, well, what if he wants to run for a third party? He's allowed to do what he wants. I mean, you can let him run a third party.
Are you comparing Shamrock to a dictator or authoritarian autocrat for preventing people from running and giving a voice for saying?
I mean, no. I'm more so just trying to say that, that he is influencing, somebody within his party to not
that would
run
be a
against
pretty
him.
wise decision to not do that, because last time I checked, I'm not the one who wants to authoritize or militarize the military or a police department.
I don't want to do that.
I mean, you were aware of the policies. You didn't denounce him until I practically forced you
I've
to.
never stated in my policies that I want to do that.
Also, my mom's getting very upsetty spaghetti with me because I'm not going to bed. So could we go to closing statements?
Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah,
we can go to closing statement. Shamrock, you can go first.
I would just like to say, I think like 55% in the last poll knows this, and I think and I hope that margin will increase. I am the right candidate for president. I am moderate. I will be a president for all, and I will make sure people feel welcome. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to flip-flop. I'm not going to be inactive or incompetent like we've seen in the Dash and Higgins administration. I'm going to do things myself with the advice, not the complete command of others, and I'm going to make sure that the people, not the party, win big in 2030 and 2032. I would like to end that statement thanking Higgins, who has done an extraordinary job facing his fears at this interview/debate. Matter of fact, you should probably put a debate poll, because that's practically what this has been. But I thank him for coming. I thank TNN for sponsoring this, and I hope for success and prosperity in the future of this nation and for my campaigns. Thank you, America, and vote Shamrock. Check my website at shamrockforpresident.weebly.com.
Thank you for coming on. I do appreciate you for being a candidate and a debater tonight and allowing TNN to interview you. I do appreciate that. So have a great night, and we hope to see you again soon. Thank you, and have a great night, Shamrock. Closing statement for Tom Higgins.
Well, again, I would like to say again, thank you to Minority Leader Shamrock for taking the time to be here today, and for TNN for again hosting this pretty much a debate, like Shamrock said. It was. I mean, it was an interview, but it was a debate. Anyway, I'm excited about what's to come for my administration. We've done so many things that I think are helping people. The economy is getting better. We're doing things across the foreign nation or the foreign policy spectrum that will help with the decreasing of wars and decreasing tensions across the other nations that are having issues right now. I will continue to be a president for everybody. I will listen to everybody, and I will continue to talk with everybody. In my campaign, I will have traveled across the country, and I want to keep listening to Republicans, Democrats, Independents, whatever party you affiliate with, whatever beliefs you have. I will listen to, and whether I agree or not, I will always be here to listen. Whether or not now, you can always, again,
Thank
I
you,
might
Higgins,
disagree,
and thank
but
you, President Higgins. I might. What?
never mind. Go.
Thank you, President Higgins, and thank you, Minority Leader Shamrock, for being with us tonight.
No
I do
problem.
appreciate it. Hopefully, we
Always
can
great
do.
to have be here.
Indeed.
Thank you. And we're always happy to have you both here. We hope that we can make an official presidential debate soon. Have a great night, guys, and thank you.
Thank you.